Janelle, I need to tell you a silly pet peeve. I am really triggered when I see poorly formatted slide decks.
Okay, Eric, I hear you. But why would that matter? Is there something wrong with you?
There's a lot that's wrong with me, but when I started my career, I was working with this great mentor at the Boston Consulting Group, and he really emphasized this notion that you have to be pixel perfect when it comes to slide creation.
Okay, pixel perfect. New term for me. For any of the non-designers in the room, can you explain what pixel perfect means?
We don't need to talk about the specific definition of what that means, but it's the idea that things should be aligned and balanced very nicely, and in general, somewhat aesthetically pleasing when you're viewing the slides. And the big point that this mentor made was just if you are going to present something to executives or any audience members and the slides just look ugly or just off, it is a distraction from the core message of the quality of the content. And I gotta say, Janelle, this burned into my brain for a very long time. And this is the reason why I think it's important for us to put together this episode.
Okay, so today we are going to share some very specific and simple techniques to improve the layout of your slides. We'll be using an example from Google Slides, but the same techniques and functions can work on PowerPoint and other slide software too.
Alrighty, Janelle. So what we have here is an example team slide that we are going to work through. Now, a couple things to note. If you've seen an earlier episode of Uncapped Notes, we believe that a good slide should read as a sentence on the slide title so that people can skim it. And this is, as you can see, is a pretty standard slide for any team, right? You can see the pictures here. There's a little bit of the names, descriptions, some logos of where we worked, and there's even a company logo here at the top. But the big problem is that this is freaking ugly. Uncapped Notes is a series produced by Hustle Fund, designed for first-time founders.
Follow us on socials, and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.
Like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? Janelle's head is bigger than Eric's head. Even if we had the most impressive backgrounds in the world, I think the first word that comes to mind to a VC, angel investor, even other founders, if they saw this slide, is yuck. So let's make it unyucky. All right, so I think first and foremost, I like to work from top to bottom here. And we're going to show you a couple of basic techniques and tools that we use, actually that I use a lot to make slides look better. Let's first of all try to differentiate this slide title a bit more. We can make the text itself, a little bit bigger. I think that making sure that there's a little bit of differentiation between the slide titles and the rest of the body content is important. So what I did here is I just hit Control A and then hit Control B, but you can use the toolbar at the top here. I like to have things as 2 sentences max. So I'm going to actually make sure that there's a little bit of space here. But oh my gosh, we have a problem. We're overlapping with this logo. Okay, not a problem. Let's just resize it down. Nothing too crazy here. Maybe I'm just going to try to match the size and formatting of the height of this text here. So how am I going to do that? Right. Well, you saw me actually do a little bit of resizing here in the corner. You can do that. Then you can try to manually line it up to the grid here. But what I like to do is I like to highlight both. You know, just a drag and select both, and then first start by doing an arrange and align top. So you can see here that there is now alignment between the logo and the text, and I can actually even do a little bit of grid work here. So you can see that at least in Google Slides, and I think PowerPoint has this too, you can see recommended height, and then that will just match to the nearest text or the nearest height object right there. So this looks pretty good. Already, I think there's a bit of an improvement here. And I'm going to select again here. What I'm going to do is group. So this becomes one single object. And I'm a stickler for making sure that things are centered on the page. So again, I go to Arrange, Center on Page, and then let's do that horizontal. And you can see that there's slight pixel movement up, and I'm just going to manually drag it up like this. Already, this is starting to look pretty good. Now, let's work our way down here. So I got some big problems with this. This is not matched, but what we could do here is perhaps start by doing Arrange, Align Top. I'm going to hold down Shift. Okay, if I don't hold down Shift, then sometimes certain kinds of things can happen, like stretching and so forth. We don't want that. Actually, if you drag the corners of like a square object or rectangular object, it looks like it's holding the dimensions, but I'm going to hold Shift anyway, and then drag it until we see these grid lines to show that we're evenly matched here. So squares are cool and all, but sometimes I want like a circle, right? So now that these things are evenly matched, what I like to do is I like to select one. I wish you could select both, but it doesn't look like you can do that. one at a time. And then we're going to go to this crop tool here. And then we're going to turn it into a circle. Let's do that with this one too. Crop, shape, circle. That looks kind of cool. Now they're a little bit small, so I'm just going to click all and drag a little bit bigger by holding shift. And now we got some big faces here. All right, so let's put this to the side for now. And then we're going to work on getting the alignment in a second. Let's work on making sure that Janelle maybe has like a bold text for her name. This label's fine. There's some sort of weird background color that appears because I was copying and pasting from a website. I'm going to remove that, turn this into transparent. So I just grabbed the copy, just selected it and hit transparent in the color panel. And also the text is off a little bit. You can tell because there's no text font size here. I think this is a little bit bigger. But actually, maybe for this purpose, it looks okay. Same treatment for Eric. So let's bold the text here. So my name pops out. And then let's remove some of the color. Great. I want a little bit more condensed view here. So I'm just going to do a little comma there and boom. Okay. So it doesn't look bad, but still a little bit off. So this is, again, where alignment is really important. We're going to make sure that this is top aligned, arrange, align, top. And you can see that this is something that I use a lot, is just alignment and then centering. This is so critical, I think, for making sure that things look pixel perfect, that term I just mentioned before. And in addition to that, too, I'm noticing it'd be kind of nice if this text were centered with the image. So we're going to highlight together. And in this case, it's actually pretty well centered. Let me actually move this to the side here so we can show you the centering function. Here we go. Align center. So you can see that image moved. And then we're going to do arrange, align center. So it's starting to look better. And then we got these logos. So for these logos, again, I like to sort of match height. Let's do a quick arrange, align top. And then let's make sure that the Apple logo maybe is the same size as a Salesforce logo. And you can see that these little grid markers appear to allow us to do that. And it's starting to really shape up here. So let's find a place to put these logos. Maybe we'll make it slightly smaller. So I'm going to, again, select everything, shrink it down a little bit. Whoops. Uh-oh. You can see that there's a little bit of distortion happening here, kind of flattened like a pancake. Let's undo that. If I hold shift, then they'll maintain the dimensions proportionally. That looks a lot better. Okay, so maybe this goes here, this goes here, and make sure that everything is aligned in the middle here. So align center, and then this one too, align center. Great. So not too bad. And then I think this is a little bit far off, so I'm going to put it a little bit closer together. Right? You can see that there's this red grid line here that appears. That actually allows us to match the top alignment of this object here. And I guess the last step here is I'm going to select everything, do a right click, group everything. Everything is a little bit to the right here, and then arrange, center in the page horizontally. Boom. Maybe I'll slide it up just a little bit. That's not bad. It looks a lot better than what we started with if you were to go back and rewind a little bit. So again, the big takeaway here is this notion of pixel perfection. There's a lot of balance here. You can see that this top kind of copy area, logo area is centered on the page. I grouped that together. You can see that there's alignment in the middle here. There's alignment in the middle here. There's consistent formatting. The sizing is consistent too. One thing that's a little bit of a annoyance to me is like I am a bit of a stickler when it comes to making even copy balance look the same. Something is slightly off here. I think I know what it is, actually. I think there's like a different font or something that's going on here. But you get the picture, right? This is something that looks generally pretty professional. It won't raise a lot of eyebrows. I'm trying to do some last minute tweaking here. So even in the kind of example, something is happening where there's like a different kind of line spacing here. But I think people get the point. So this is the final product here from where we started. I did a little bit of fine tuning. There's a little bit of pixel offness when it came to some of the text, but I think I've now corrected that. And as you can see that this is much more balanced. I don't see very many things that are distracting here. This is a really basic slide. And it didn't really take that much work. If I didn't have the narration, I can generally do this in just a couple minutes while watching Netflix. And it's just leveraging the existing tools like alignment and centering that's built into modern slide making software like Google Slides and PowerPoint.
So the big takeaways here: invest time in formatting. A poorly formatted slide deck could distract the messaging behind your great company. The second big takeaway: if you don't have the design skills, consider outsourcing to a professional slide deck developer. You can find someone on Upwork or another design marketplace, and for a few $100 investment, you'll see some major payoff.
All right, founders. So we showed you a few basic techniques for making your slides look pixel perfect, really balanced, really nice. But do you have techniques that you like to rely upon to make your slides look great? Let us know in the comments. And oh yes, don't forget to like and subscribe to Uncapped Notes.